Have you ever wondered what happens to women who believe themselves untouchable? The ones who wielded beauty, charm, and cruelty like weapons, certain that men, wealth, and society would always bow to them until it all collapses. History is not kind to women like this. When empires crumble, survival strips away illusions, exposing the raw truth of human nature, especially for those who once thought they could turn nothing into everything. At the end of this video, you'll see what history reveals about women when civilization begins to crumble. When innocence turns to instinct, loyalty becomes survival, and the illusion of love and innocence shatters to reveal what truly hides beneath the mask. When everything collapses, power, status, safety, the mask falls first. It happened in ancient Rome. When the empire began to rot from within, the women of nobility, once bathed in luxury, were suddenly thrown into chaos. Many of them who had mocked the men who fought their wars now found themselves begging for protection from the same men they once belittled. Roman historian Tacitus wrote about how these same women who had lived in silk and gold would trade everything they owned for a man's bread or a soldier's favor. Beauty was no longer a weapon. It was a last currency before starvation. It's a pattern that repeats across time. In the fall of Greece, in the ruins of Troy, even in the ashes of Berlin after World War II, when law and order disappear, women do what they must to survive. Some betrayed the very men who once protected them, trading loyalty for food, affection for protection. The soft mask of innocence turns to something far more primal. What was once called love becomes an act of negotiation. And yet, the most chilling part isn't only what the cruel or promiscuous women did. It's how even the seemingly loyal ones, the ones who swore they would never betray their men, often did. Not out of malice, but survival. When hunger whispers and bombs fall, loyalty becomes a luxury only the safe can afford. After the Second World War, there were thousands of stories. Women who had smiled at their husbands as they went to war and later were seen with occupying soldiers once the tide turned. They weren't all evil, no. But survival doesn't ask for morality. It demands instinct. And when instinct awakens, love dies quietly in the corner. Every civilization has its version of this. When the walls fall, when the soldiers retreat, when the system collapses, the truth of human nature emerges. Men become warriors again. Women become survivors, and all the illusions built by comfort and modern safety vanish overnight. What happens to the ones who thought they could play both sides? The ones who mocked men, exploited their desire, and laughed at the idea of dependence. They discover that the power they once held was an illusion granted by stability. And when that stability disappears, so does their dominance. The men they used to manipulate are no longer competing for affection. They're fighting for survival. In a collapsed world, beauty doesn't command, it pleads. The same charm that once controlled men now only invites pity or danger. When civilization dies, so does the luxury of moral games. History has shown us one brutal truth. When the world burns, nature reclaims her rules. The feminine power that thrived on safety cannot survive in chaos. It's not misogyny. It's nature reminding us of balance. That no mask, no manipulation, no illusion of power can outlive reality. And that's where our story begins. Because the fall of every empire tells the same tale. And if you listen closely, you'll realize that what happens next is not just history, it's prophecy. When Rome burned, it wasn't just stone and marble that turned to ash. It was illusion. The illusion of loyalty, of purity, of control. For centuries, women of noble blood believed they were safe behind the walls of power. They thought men would always protect them, feed them, and die for them. But when the city fell, when soldiers became scavengers and the empire's wealth turned to smoke, those same women found out that beauty without order means nothing. There's a haunting story from the Roman collapse of a senator's wife who once commanded servants and lovers like a queen. When the Visigoths invaded, her husband was executed, her estate looted, and her name became worthless overnight. She tried to buy her safety with gold, then with her body. But even that failed. The same men who once bowed to her now spat at her feet, seeing her not as a goddess but as prey. In her final days, she was found wandering the ruins barefoot, clutching a ring that no longer meant anything. That story could have ended in any era. Because this pattern, women who believed their beauty or cunning would always shield them, repeats itself every time order breaks. During the fall of Troy, noble women became prizes of war, dragged by their hair from burning palaces. In Berlin, 1945, the same tragedy returned. The ones who had cheered their men's power now hid in basements, praying the conquerors wouldn't find them. And when they did, survival demanded choices that erased everything they once stood for. The collapse of society doesn't care about your morals, your status, or your charm. See, it strips you to the bone and asks one question: what are you willing to do to survive? For many women throughout history, the answer has been horrifyingly clear. Some turned against their own husbands or lovers to win favor with the victors. Others offered themselves in exchange for bread, protection, or mercy. Survival rewrites everything: love, loyalty, even identity. And before you judge them, look deeper. Because the same instinct that makes a man fight to protect is the same instinct that makes a woman do whatever it takes to live. When the system collapses, both are stripped to their biological truth. Men become providers through force. Women become survivors through submission. Civilization hides this truth, but when the masks melt, nature speaks louder than morality ever could. Even in modern times, you can see traces of this pattern. In war zones today, when governments fall and chaos reigns, the same stories emerge. Women who once rejected men for being weak now seek them out for safety. Those who mocked traditional roles suddenly find themselves dependent on the same masculine strength they once scorned. The cycle never changes. Only the setting does. Because in peace, morality is a luxury. In chaos, it's a liability. The world has forgotten that balance is fragile. That comfort is an illusion that can vanish overnight. And when it does, the truth of who we are and what we've become is revealed. When the empire burns, the masks melt first, and what's left behind is not romance, not loyalty, not equality, but raw, unfiltered survival. The question is, when the next collapse comes, will history repeat itself again? When a society collapses, it doesn't always begin with explosions or soldiers in the streets. Sometimes it begins in silence, in the hearts of people who have already lost faith, meaning, and restraint. That's how it began in Nagirev, a quiet Hungarian village after the First World War. The men were gone, dead, wounded, or missing. The war had taken them all. What remained were the women, wives, widows, and mothers, trapped in a rural wasteland abandoned by order itself. Hunger replaced love, loneliness replaced morality, and in that silence, something monstrous was born. It started with one woman, a midwife named Zuzana Fazekas. She had knowledge others didn't: how to end a pregnancy, how to ease a dying man's pain, and how to make poison. She taught the women of the village how to soak fly paper in water, extracting arsenic, a silent, invisible killer. At first, it was mercy. Some poisoned their husbands who had returned from the war crippled, violent, or broken. But mercy soon became convenience. Women began killing their lovers, their fathers, their babies. Over 2 decades, the angel makers of Nagirev poisoned more than 160 people. They smiled in daylight, they prayed in church, and they buried their sins under the same soil they once called home. The world would later call them monsters. But the truth is far darker. They were ordinary women, not queens, not seductresses, not criminals, just people stripped of consequence. When society's order disappears, even innocence can become a weapon. This is what happens when morality dies before society does. The laws still exist, but no one believes in them anymore. Religion remains, but faith turns hollow. The community functions, but only on the surface. Beneath it all, survival becomes the only God worth serving. You see, chaos doesn't need an army to win. It only needs apathy. And once apathy spreads, even good women, the ones who once cooked, prayed, and waited for their husbands to return, become capable of anything. Because when meaning fades, so does guilt. The Angel Makers are not just a story of a village gone mad. They are a mirror, showing what happens when human nature loses its leash. The moment comfort, order, and moral accountability vanish, the masks of decency begin to crack. In every era, the same truth repeats. Women who seem gentle become cunning. Men who seem strong become desperate, and both find themselves doing things they never imagined, just to survive one more day. The tragedy of Nagarev wasn't only in the bodies buried beneath the fields, it was in the silence that followed. Because no one screamed, no one repented. They just continued on as if nothing had happened. Evil had become ordinary. And that's the warning history keeps whispering to us. Civilization doesn't collapse when cities burn, it collapses when conscience does. The story of Nagarev feels distant, like a relic from another time. But the truth is, the same instincts that drove those women centuries ago still exist today. Civilization hasn't collapsed yet. The bombs haven't fallen, the empires haven't burned, but the quiet decay of morality is happening all around us. And in this world, survival has found subtler forms: power, manipulation, and influence. Look at modern society. Women have freedoms their grandmothers could only dream of. Wealth, education, and social networks give them leverage unimaginable in a post-war village. Yet when life is threatened, when comfort teeters on the edge, instinct still governs. Even the ones who seem loyal, the ones who post family photos, pledge devotion, and promise love, can make choices that shock you. They betray not out of malice, but because survival demands it. History and modern psychology tell us the same story. The closer life brushes with collapse, the more loyalty and innocence become luxuries. The women who navigated ancient empires, poisoned their husbands, or traded affection for bread. Their instincts are mirrored in the subtle betrayals of today. The women who smile, who nurture, who say, "I love you," can shift allegiance in the blink of an eye if survival or self-interest demands it. Even in our modern empires of comfort, the same rules apply. Power and resources can protect you for a time. But when scarcity comes, money disappears, reputations crumble, relationships falter, the mask slips. A partner you trusted may suddenly exploit opportunity over loyalty. A friend may turn against you to protect herself. A lover may abandon vows for survival. The collapse doesn't need to be global. Sometimes it's just a personal crisis, a threat to security. And that alone reveals the raw truth of human nature. Look closely at history, and the pattern is clear. Rome, Nagarev, occupied France. Each era proves that instinct overrides morality when the world feels unsafe. Even the most virtuous, the most innocent can betray. Survival is not cruel. It is amoral. It simply is. And here's the most sobering realization. This instinct doesn't disappear just because society appears strong. Civilization is fragile, morality is conditional, and loyalty, even the loyalty you take for granted, exists only when life feels predictable. So ask yourself, how well do you really know the people you trust? How deep is the loyalty you assume is unbreakable? Because when comfort cracks, instincts emerge and illusions die. History whispers this warning to every generation. When the world tilts, survival chooses first, and morality is optional. Think about that. By now, you've seen the patterns history refuses to forget. Women who once wielded beauty, charm, and influence as weapons, women who seemed untouchable, are stripped bare when the world collapses. Rome, Nagirev, occupied France, and even modern crises all reveal the same brutal truth. Power is conditional, loyalty is fragile, and survival is amoral. The women who poisoned husbands, betrayed lovers, or manipulated empires thought they were untouchable. They believed charm and cunning could shield them from the consequences of time and circumstance. But history shows us that survival has a price. And it is a price that no mask, no wealth, no beauty can evade. Some survived physically, but lost everything else: trust, respect, comfort, identity. Others perished quietly, their stories buried or twisted by those who remained. Even the seemingly loyal women, the ones you believed could never betray, are not immune. When life is threatened, when order is gone, instinct takes over. Love becomes negotiation. Affection becomes strategy. Loyalty becomes optional. This is not a judgment. It is biology. It is reality. It is what happens when the illusions of civilization are stripped away. So, as you reflect on the stories we've explored, ask yourself, when the walls fall, when safety vanishes, when the empire you trust collapses, what would you do? Who would you become? And who around you might reveal a side you never expected? If this journey through history and human nature has changed the way you see the world, even just a little, take a moment to subscribe. Give yourself a second to commit, because understanding these truths is not just about watching history unfold. It's about preparing yourself for the reality of human nature and recognizing the masks before they fall. History teaches harsh lessons. Survival doesn't forgive. Power doesn't last, and illusions always die first.